Bill and I went to this fabulous sex club. It was really good. You guys should try it. But
I don't think I'd have the nerve.
We're going back next Saturday, and you guys really should come. It's outrageous. I mean, I wouldn't even go on if Kelly didn't. And she talked me into it, actually.
You know,
Really?
and it's totally fine. I mean, you don't have to do anything that you don't feel comfortable doing. I mean, this man came up to us. I mean, he came up to Bill and was like, you know, can I come on you? And Bill was like, no, thank you. And that's all.
Yeah. No,
and it
just
totally...
nobody's coming on me, you know, I don't know.
So, I mean, was it a turn-on? Were you guys, like, home later and like, wow, what a turn-on?
Oh. When we got home, I mean, you should have seen how we were able to intertwine our bodies. It was right out of a porno film.
Porno, yeah.
I mean, I had her on top of me. She was facing the other way, okay? And that's difficult, don't kid yourself. Because, you know, length is a factor.
Oh, definitely.
Were you able to enjoy it?
Well, we're talking about Bill here.
What a bitch, huh?
Well, you know, there was never a time when we didn't get off on each other.
Never.
Are you into yoga, or do you just ad-lib?
Could you pass the wine, please?
No, she watches those movies.
Right.
I mean, I can't have a tape on even 5 minutes before I'm eating the spandex off her hips.
You know, you really shouldn't be lifting heavy things. A woman in your condition,
It's okay. It's just one bag. Just one bag.
Oranges, those are organic, right? I mean, you never know what kind of stuff they're putting in our food nowadays. That's why actually we grow our own. I mean, that way you kind of have more of a control over it, except for those government chemtrails. Did you see those planes this morning?
No, I didn't. I don't really know about...
Oh my God, you look like you're just ready to pop.
Well, I'm only 5 months pregnant.
5 months pregnant? This is going to be the best thing that has ever happened in your life.
Thanks, I guess.
I'm Skylar, by the way. I live down the street, and this is Shiva Shakti Shanti. We live in the red house with the pig in the front.
Oh, yeah, that house. I'm Elizabeth.
Nice to meet you, Elizabeth.
I actually really got to get going.
You should eat figs every day. They really help stretch out your vagina way more than a perineum massage.
Why figs?
Oh, you're going to eat your placenta, right? It just really helps stabilize the mood. You know you're eating horse hooves.
What?
You can't be putting that stuff in your body. It's toxic. Everything that you put in your mouth gets passed down to your baby. Your kid's gonna grow up and obese and diabetes and just standing outside the 7-Eleven begging for change to buy a Big Gulp.
No. My friend Alex told me that I could eat anything I wanted to this last month of pregnancy. So I've been eating marshmallows for like 5 days. And I feel so sick.
Oh, honey, I know. Just give them to me. You can hand them over. It's okay. Easy does it. There you go. That's it. I am doing this in the name of your unborn fetus. Now come on, get out of the car. Just pull yourself together, woman.
No, I just can't control myself.
I know, it's called hormones. Now stop it. Come on. The best thing that you can do for yourself is just, let's take a walk and build up some endorphins.
I don't want to walk. You know, the other day, I drove myself to the mailbox. And I could barely fit my feet into these shoes. I mean, they're puffy. They're puffier than those marshmallows.
Oh my God. What are you... Look, you need some sensible shoes. These 5-finger shoes are really comfortable, by the way.
Those things are atrocious. I would not be caught dead wearing shoes like that, ever. You know, I still let my husband, find me sexy.
Wait until he watches you poop out your ass while you squeeze a bloody baby head out of your vagina. That's sexy.
This is BlissVille, Misadventures in BlissVille, and I'm David Lawler here with actress bon vivant, the lovely lady, the sexy Russian, Masha Sapron. She was in my movie Ligeia on DVD and hopefully out there in torrent form. I hope people are ripping it off every chance they get. She appears on the cover of the DVD in the famous cat suit. I remember I wanted her to wear a cat suit in the movie in her weird cosplay scenes with the character played by Martin Davis, and they both wear, they also wear masks, and I forget if the masks were part of the costume or if we bought them separately. Do you remember? Because I sure as hell don't.
I think we got them separately. I still have the cat, or I had the cat suit for a long time. But I don't know.
I thought
the
I paid you
is.
back for that.
No, I mean, like, I had it around the house for a long time.
Okay, gotcha. Separate stuff that we don't really want to know about. I think you went to a store called Religious Sex down on St. Mark's Place, right?
Yep. That's right. That's where I got it.
So, Masha did research for the movie, and some of it wound up in the film. There is a dinner scene, probably the easiest scene I shot because everybody was sitting down. We wired everybody with microphones, and we got 100 setups in like 2 hours because we had 2 cameras. Masha tells this insane story about a club she went to. I guess it was a sex club. I'm not even sure. There was a lot of improvisation, people bouncing off one another, which I love. That's my favorite kind of thing to do. You were making another film concurrently at that time called Strange Things Happen at Sundown, a vampire flick. I think we shot Ligeia in 2002. I can't remember. I'm like Keith Richards. I can't really remember when I played a song, but I know I did it. So I remember we asked a friend of yours, Andrea, I think her name was. She was going to do the part. But then she got like a paying gig, which was always better, of course. But she did the greatest thing an actor could do, which was suggest a replacement. And that's how you came into the fold, and I was eternally grateful. Ligeia was not, for me, a wonderful experience because this was where compromise really got in the way of the I don't want to sound pretentious, but the original vision. It was supposed to be more of a suburban fantasy than the inner city feel that we get throughout the thing. Even visually, I didn't get what I wanted for the most part. I had to work with what I had, and there were some unpleasant experiences, I guess, with actors. Not you, but other people I won't mention. And then an unpleasant experience dealing with distribution. The movie made some money for other people, not me, and then certain entities go out of business, and when they go out of business, you don't get what you should. So I wasn't happy throughout the process. So the first question I want to know, and this is, I'm a male, I have to know, how would you compare your experience with Mark Fratto on Strange Things Happen at Sundown and me? Was he better than me?
Well, you guys are totally different, and you're making different movies. I mean, as far as I was concerned, you were making high art. It was based
oh my God!
It was based on Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes.
And the other was a vampire movie. But they were both. I mean, they were both awesome experiences. They were just very different. But actually, you guys were both really cool with improv, which I like.
We have no choice but to be that way because we have no money.
No, it's like, well, I don't know. I think it helps sometimes to make the dialogue or the story your own when you can kind of riff a little bit off the script and bring in elements and it was I like that you were really cool about letting me try things and, like you said, bring things in. And like I remember I decided I wanted to try this laugh, and I don't know now in retrospect if it was such a good choice, but it was a choice.
Which laugh was that?
I had this laugh, this I don't know why, I can't remember now why I had decided to bring it in. I think maybe because the character was so she was manipulative and so the laugh was a little bit out of character for her.
It's weird that I don't remember that.
You remember other things, and I
guess I was concentrating on, like, actually, I don't know. I had like a million different problems. This is one of the problems when you're directing. Like, people come to you and they grab you and they say, I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm like, yeah, go with it, whatever. I watched Mark's movie a couple of days ago just to my memory, I guess. I was, because you kept talking about it throughout the shooting, and I was like, all right, I need to take a look at this thing. So I did, and you know, he has like a very similar vision to mine, I guess. Back in those days, we were young and everything. Yeah. And we were like fearless and all that, and we wanted to make movies that would shock people or something like that.
Right.
It's a great. I thought it was really good, actually. It has like a really good air to it that's very. I don't know. It's like something that would be really successful these days, as opposed to like 10 years ago or whatever.
Right.
I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. I just hope he's doing as well or better than me.
Oh, yeah, they're still making vampire movies. I mean, they love it.
He's obsessed with vampires, Yeah. I mean, I think a lot would need to be said.
I think, I'm sorry, actually, I think the last one was in zombies.
Zombies, okay. Yeah. That's where we are. So after those movies, you went off to California, right?
Yeah, pretty soon after them, I moved to California. Mm-hmm.
I remember this because you were like, if you want to send me any mail, this is my address. And the address had a 1/8 on it, which is
right.
like, that's California. In New York, we have apartment 2A, 2B, 2C. Yours was 1/8, which makes me think that it was like some kind of garage shed right next to a gas station, like in Steve Martin and the Jerk.
Right.
Well, so fill us in on your time out there.
Well, it was actually a 1/5, and yeah, they pretty much divided the building into like 5 tiny little.
It's all fractions out
units.
there, isn't it?
Yeah, but it was like I got 1/5 of a building, but I loved it because it was
your 5th.
It was mine, and I could have, I didn't have to have like a full-time job to live there. I could have a part-time, job to make money, and then I could I could be an actor and audition and create. And it was and there was so much light and it was the whole apartment was Murphy. It was a Murphy bed, that comes out of the wall. But the kitchen was Murphy
chair, Murphy blender, the Murphy kitchen counter.
It was a Murphy table in the kitchen, exactly, and there were Murphy benches, and it all folded up so tiny and neat, and it was just a little, it was a little community of also artists and people that couldn't work full-time jobs, right, but were pursuing some other thing. And I would just remember I would leave the door open during the day and you could see these hummingbirds, and I was so happy. The sunshine made me really happy. And it was a little bit like, there's a lot of starting over moving to LA. I thought, well, if I could just do the same kind of thing that I was doing in New York, and just have nice weather and an easier lifestyle, then I would be happy. But it was kind of starting over, meeting people, starting from scratch. And
is it like this situation where you have like cultivated a career in New York, you go out to California and you have to start over, and they kind of don't know what you've done, and it's really not important to them because it's a California lifestyle?
Yes, they don't care about theater, and they really just want to know what your TV credits are. So.
That seems to be the issue. I remember I spoke to your colleague from those days, Eve Kerrigan, and she was telling me about how her time in California was predominantly occupied by people who really didn't care what you did in New York.
Right. It's true.
So I remember a few years back, I was actually prepping a movie, and you were doing some writing. I sent off a script to you to get your opinion. You liked the script. It was kind of a horror period piece. It was called The Mayflies of Damascus.
Mm-hmm. I
sent it off. And not only did you give me some decent feedback, you made some editing corrections. That was great. I really liked that. So you were doing this writing. What was it that brought you to the writing? Why did you decide to do that?
That's a good question. Why?
Thank you. I do good questions. Yeah.
That's a good question. I wonder how it started. I feel like I was inspired by
Say me. This guy named Dave Lawler, I don't know why, but he's just so freaking terrible. I had to do something better.
I want to say it was I can't I want to say maybe it was Matt Damon and Ben Affleck that inspired me, because
Don't say that.
I was like, oh wow, they wrote that movie. And...
All right, I'll let you. Yeah, you were looking at them at the Oscars when they got their Oscars. Yeah. Robin Williams gave them their Oscars, and was like, well,
I don't know if it was around.
Shit, if these people can make Oscars, yeah.
But yeah, there was something. I mean, it's just I think for me, it's always been about the creative process, and so if I can hook up with a director or filmmaker or someone that I can, be creative with just in the form of acting, then that's awesome. But I derive the same sort of pleasure from creating the story myself. So putting the words down on paper and mostly being just inspired by, what I think is hilarious about whatever's going on in my life. And, it may or may not be hilarious to others, but yeah. And so I think that's how, so then I wrote a screenplay and I just kind of did. And I was like, wow, this is cool. So I did a little bit.
Wait, can you tell me a little bit about that screenplay? What was it about?
It was about it was called The Thing About 30. So it was about a woman who was, about to turn 30 and was single, God forbid, in LA, and an actor, and it was little kind of I guess there were just different men that she would be dating, and how none of them were the right guy for her, but of course in the end she realizes that she doesn't need a guy to make herself feel great. I mean, that she, she can be, that she can be complete without that guy. But then there is this moment where she, at the very, very, very end, where she, sees a guy, and it's like, oh, maybe, it's like she gets excited every time she meets someone. Like, this could be the one. And then at the end of the movie, there's a little cliffhanger. Will that guy be the one? It's a comedy, and it was really fun to write, and I had an opportunity to make it, and I didn't take that. There was a guy I had met who was wanting to direct it, and he said he would buy the rights and I could act in it and we would make it, and I was like, it was my first offer. So I said, that's great, let me think about it. And I was like, well, and then I met Michael Bay in
You met Michael Bay?
This is like.
Was he all like? Can I ask you? Was he like drugged up and crazy and insane and talking about the Transformers and all that stuff?
Well, first of all, I met him in my hair salon where he gets his highlights, and I had gotten.
Michael Bay gets highlights. I want everyone to know that.
And I was getting my hair done, and and it's funny because he doesn't go to like a super fancy salon. It's just this salon that I go to, but it was kind of quiet. And my hairdresser, who knew I was an actor, is like, "Oh my God, there's Michael Bay. You should go talk to him." And this was like right after this other director that I had met.
Can I just ask you about his hair?
Yeah.
Was it like magnificent?
I guess I didn't realize what a icon he was.
Well, he directed the Meatloaf video. I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. He also did a little movie. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's called Armageddon with Bruce Willis.
But I'm not a big action, adventure kind of moviegoer. Like that's what I mean. Like I knew who he was, but I didn't really know that he was such a star in so many people's eyes. So yeah, so I just walked over to this guy who had, little foils in his hair, who was sitting under the hair dryer or sitting near the sink or something. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Hi," I said, my name's Masha. I'm so excited to meet you. I really admire your work. Mm-hmm. And then I said, I have a screenplay I'd really like for you to,
Oh my God.
to look at. And I don't know. I don't know that I pitched him or anything. I think I was like, it's like Sex in the City, but it's set in LA, and it's for the younger generation, kind of like girls now. But
Yeah.
anyway, he was like, right. He's like, well, just send it over to my production company, and my assistant will take a look at it. And I was like,
Yeah.
great. And that's what LA, I mean, and that's a lot about what LA was like for me. It was like always meeting, somehow crossing paths with these people that were either famous or semi-famous or used to be famous, and having a project. I was always excited about having a project to bring to somebody, rather than just introducing myself to him and saying, hey, I'm an actor.
Yeah.
Like he would be, and he would be like, oh, okay. Great. I'm an actor. Can I audition for your movie? It always felt like if I had something to bring to the table, like a script or something, that I was offering something more. But now in retrospect,
Well, if I would offer a little bit to that, I think a lot of what he responded to is the fact that you're a good-looking woman and you're offering something. It's kind of a bartering system, and I guess in Hollywood and LA and how they deal with people. That's how they're going to respond to you in that way, in that initial impression.
Right.
It's like you're a good-looking woman, but you have something else to offer me, and I will take it. So
I was going to say, so it didn't, the screenplay sort of like flew and then crash landed after, because I was like, well, why would I want a director, a small director to make it when I can meet Michael Bay in a hairdresser salon, and
right. That is one of those missed opportunities, I guess. I've run across them a few times in my life. An item I thought was interesting was an article that you wrote for allparenting.com.
Mm-hmm.
Do we still say .com anymore? Is it implied now? I don't even know.
Could be .biz or .net. So yeah.
It was a checkered past. You wrote of your time acting in New York, bearing your boobs for art, how you were a scream queen, and then reconciling this with becoming a new mother. I don't know that there would be anything to be embarrassed about with regard to the work you did, your own past. At my age, I'm not embarrassed to reveal certain details about myself that I never would have revealed 10, 15 years ago. It seems I consider them battle scars, war wounds that I now display with pride. In my defense, I was kind of a stupid kid anyway. I was wondering how you look back on your past now. Big sigh there.
I think that it was, it was fun. I was just finding my way, and that was the path that I took. And I don't have any major regrets about it. It's just the way things unfolded, for me. So, like, if someone gave me
Go ahead. Don't be embarrassed.
No, I'm not. I'm saying if someone had given me like a magic 8-ball and said, I don't know, like if they told me my life was going to turn out a different way anyway, would I still have, gone through? I mean, I devoted a lot of time and energy, to acting and acting classes and doing, free or whatever, low paid, jobs and it was like, for what? Like, for some of them were because I believed in the project, or because I liked the writing, or sometimes because I thought, well, I should do something, and you never know who you're going to meet from this project, and go to do another project from there. And I just really had this always optimistic sort of attitude.
I wanted to ask you because I was always interested, but we never got around to having any crazy in-depth discussion when we were shooting. But you were born in St. Petersburg in the former Soviet Union.
Right.
What was it like growing up there and then coming here to the States?
Well, I I didn't grow up there. We moved to the States when I was 3 or 4 years old. So I don't have that. I don't have that many vivid memories of, of being in Russia, other than, when I went back as an adult a few times to visit, and then when you go back as an adult, you kind of replace the new memories with the old memories, meaning like there were certain things I remember, like dropped like in the middle of winter, and I had a bucket, a shovel and a bucket, but instead of playing in sand in Russia, I guess you play with snow. And I had dropped it by accident into the Neva, the big river there, and the polar bear club, or those people that swim in the ice cold water in the middle of winter.
Right,
Somebody
those
like
insane people who.
they like fished out my bucket and got it.
The
for
only
me.
idea I have would be like Moscow on the Hudson, the Robin Williams film. Everything in the movie seems cold, old architecture, bread lines, only one kind of toilet paper, and then no concept, or only a slight concept of materialism, because everything, the rhetoric, at least it seemed to in service of the people. Was that true, or was that simply like dogma us Americans believe? I mean, what do you think about that?
I think it was. I mean, I think it was true, but I didn't experience it, personally. My parents did, and about how, like there were periods where there was no food to be had, and you had to know somebody if you wanted to, get your car fixed. Like
So you prefer the American way of life?
I do prefer. I'm proud to be an American.
Yes. Oh
Yes.
God. Actually,
but I
work
mean,
that song into it.
but the interesting thing for me was that when I went back, I've been back twice as an adult, and one of the really cool things about going back, especially the second time I remember in particular, was this feeling of home, because I always was shy about being Russian. So in the 80s, there was this like, the Red Scare and the commies, and
early 80s,
it wasn't, it was sort of like, being a Muslim now, kind of like, I mean, kids in general, like when I was
you feel like an outsider.
Yeah, I mean, they would really make fun of me. And so
who the hell would make fun of you? Come on.
So
that's
when
just ridiculous.
And we moved a few times, and when we moved, I decided I wasn't going to be Masha. I was going to be Marsha. I was going to adopt this American personality. And I said, well, my parents, I don't know, they're from somewhere in Eastern Europe, but I'm American. I was born in Buffalo, New York.
Right.
Which is not true. But I just really wanted to be American for so long. So I went through that from like fourth grade until after college. I was Marsha.
I remember that you were particularly proud, at least at the point we were shooting, and this was like 2002, but you were proud of the fact that you were born in St. Petersburg in Russia at that time.
Right, because then after college, when you kind of start to develop a better sense of self, and you can kind of like sink into who you are. So then I was like changed my name back in the middle, just like in the middle of life. I was like, you know what? I'm not Marsha. I'm Masha. Oh, I know. It was when I remember now. It's because I was, must have been when I started taking acting classes. Like, it's weird. Like it's like you get into the world of theater where you put on masks and become other people. That allowed me to own my own self as I was, which is, someone who was born in Russia. But when I went back to visit, there was a really great feeling to meet other Russian people and to say hello and to say my name as not something foreign and exotic. It's not like, hi, I'm Masha, and like wait for the response, Marsha. No. It was just like Здравствуйте, меня зовут Masha Sapron. And it was like, it felt so good to feel at home, to leave a message on, a friend's answering machine in Russia, and to say my name in that way, there was just such a freedom to it that I have never experienced here.
Yeah.
So that was the cool thing.
So you have incorporated motherhood into your entertainment. You and friends are making these short films intended, partially intended to be humorous, but entertaining and also educational, instructional. So tell me a little bit about that, what you've been working on.
Yeah, so after I had a baby, I found myself just kind of lonely and spending a lot of time just me and the baby, and other friends, our acting friends, were doing work, or other moms were going back to work, and I didn't know how to juggle being creative and being a mom, and I just started writing as a way to kind of express what I was going through. And so I started writing these articles at first, like the one you mentioned that was published on parenting, and then I thought, well, there's something more I can. The writing of the articles was long form, but there's something else I can do with it. And I met a neighbor who was pregnant at the time, and we talked about just shooting a 1 minute short, and my other neighbor who was pregnant at the time shot it. So it was two pregnant ladies and me who had just had a baby. And so
the pregnant ladies holding cameras and microphones.
Well, so the cinematographer was newly pregnant, and then the actress was like pretty far along, and so she had a big belly at the time, and so it was just basically, again, it was kind of similar to the other screenplay I wrote. It was just taking things from my own life that I find funny or more challenging, like difficult parts about being a new mom, and then kind of making lemonade out of lemons, trying to laugh at the hard parts. And so so we shot one, and then I thought, I was like, we really have like the potential to keep going and make this into like a series. And so that's what we did. So we started just shooting more, and shooting with around whatever was actually going on, like big bellies and morning sickness, and then babies.
So obviously you made some waves because of that, and now you have some recent trouble. Let's go into that a little bit.
Yeah. So we shot and edited about 7 episodes, and we thought, well, we could put them up on YouTube, but maybe we'll get more action if we kind of partner with a website. So we I sent the videos to sheknows.com, and they were interested in doing a trial of they have like a channel called sheknows.tv, where they have other web series. So they wanted to try us out. So we put us out there, and we created we created a website and Facebook page and Twitter and all that. And then just last week I got a cease and desist for the name of the series. So it used to be
It's just the name. It has nothing to do with the content. Just
And I didn't do any research on the name, that much research when we created the series, because it was always just sort of like, oh, okay, we're just a bunch of moms just getting together shooting videos. Right. Didn't think it would bother anybody. So I thought, well, we'll call it, Baby Bites, because they're short little videos, and they're about babies, and just little bites of comedy, and didn't put too much thought into it. But yeah, so once we got the website, Baby Bites TV and Facebook and all that, then the Baby Bites, which is, and it's odd because the company doesn't use that trademark anymore. They migrated. If you type in babybites.com, it takes you to their new website, which is Mommy Bites.
Right.
So they don't even use the name Baby Bites anymore, but they have a trademark on it, so we got the cease and desist. So we have just rebranded ourselves as Mothers You'd Like to Friend.
Hey, that was my suggestion. I remember saying that. All right, I won. All right, I get $5 from somebody. Yes. I forget who it was.
Otherwise known as MILF, M-Y-L-F.
MILF.
Mothers You'd Like to Friend.
Yes.
So,
Mothers You'd Like to Friend.
So
all right.
I'm currently pregnant with twins, and I'm 35 weeks, and having this happen right now was a little stressful because I
stressful, but you're gonna name those kids after me, David and Joshua. Those are my first name and middle names.
That's great.
Actually, David Sapron and Joshua Sapron. Actually, Joshua Sapron sounds a little better than David, but I'm not gonna argue.
Okay.
See, this is what I detest. This gets around the idea of free speech, right? It's freedom for the right price. If you receive this cease and desist orders, it isn't necessarily somebody like taking it down. It will say that in writing in the legalese, but ultimately it comes down to name your price. I read an article about a podcaster who had been given a cease and desist order because the title of the show had the word "show" in it. The word. You can't use the word show because somebody owns a fucking word, right? Turned out they wanted money for the use of the word. Is that a flat fee, or do you have to pay for each letter in the word? What I like, to get back to MILF, is that you're trying to educate people, prospective mothers, with humor and grace. You pull it off well, and it's like you want soon-to-be mothers to ease into it. To not be terrified, all this gossip, all these rumors, these half-truths, this pseudoscience that rises up around this notion of motherhood. I like that. This is what you set out to do with the web series, right?
Yeah, it was always meant to give information as well as entertain.
Exactly. So, what now, easing into your motherhood, did you want to have children? I remember having this conversation with Bronwyn just the other day, and she insists. I told her I wanted to have children when we first started dating, when we got engaged or something like that. It never occurred to me. I honestly wasn't thinking about kids, and then a couple of years I started thinking about it. And so, did you initially want to have children, or was this something you grew into?
I always knew I wanted to have children later in my life. Like, I just remember when I was a kid, like, fourth, fifth grade, something, whenever I was playing with Barbies with my friends, and my friends would, their Barbies would always have children and go home and cook dinner, and they were like, their Barbies were housewives. And my Barbie always wore the disco dance dress. It was purple with black polka dots.
Purple.
And I didn't have a Ken doll, so I had cut another Barbie's hair off to make her like the male figure.
And I don't want to look at that doll. I feel that it would terrify me in some way. I don't know why.
So my disco dancing Barbie would go out dancing all the time. That's just like, that was always my fantasy, was like to have fun, like dancing through life, whatever. So I feel like I did that, and I knew that I wanted to have children, but just not when I was like in my 20s. So yeah, so then I waited, and then when I met the right guy, it was all very quick, actually. But
can you like say a little bit about your husband?
Yeah, it's funny. I met my husband on the internet. I met him online, and
on a Christian Jewish chat line, obviously.
I met him on back in the day, I was on Nerve, and he was on Salon, and I was on Nerve because all my girlfriends from New York were on Nerve, but I guess Nerve wasn't really big in New York. And
never heard of that, no.
Oh, okay, well, and he was on salon.com, and you don't even know, but they pooled their resources. So sometimes I'd go out with somebody, and they'd be like, I saw your thing on The Onion, and I was like, The Onion, wow. So it was an interesting mix of people. But anyway, I had met him, and then I didn't go out with him. I met another guy in person, like in the flesh, and ended up dating that guy for 5 years. And when we broke up, I went back on the same Nerve website 5 years later and just was like, just started like winking at all these guys. And I winked at Mark again, and he wrote me a note, and he's like, you were in touch with me like a few years ago. And I was like, oh, and I remembered him. Because I thought he was weird, and I hadn't gone out with him the first time because I thought he was weird.
He doesn't he's not heavily bearded or anything. He doesn't have like a huge full beard and.
Well, now he does, but that's called lumbersexual.
Okay.
He did not have a full beard when I met him, but I knew. But for some reason, like the 5 years earlier, I was like not into weird. But for some reason, I was like, you know what? If I'm drawn to this guy like over and over again, like I can just meet him at least. So I met him, and it was like the first date. I just knew that I was like, wow, this is my man.
That is like probably the most amazing story I've heard on hookups, at least as far as the hyper intellectual go. You're not going to find that kind of story on television, ladies and gentlemen. No, you heard it here on BlissVille. But
so yeah, so it was pretty quick. It was like we dated maybe for a year and a half before we got engaged, and then got married like maybe 6 months after we got engaged, and then got pregnant 4 months after getting married. So
I always knew that you had a thing for intellectuals. I don't know why. It must be the Russian in you, that cold blood that burns so hot. But
well, smart people are interesting to talk to.
They certainly are. They certainly are. I was born to be a father, I think, because I don't want to put the whammy at the kibosh on it, but for me, it's a lot easier than I feared. Based on other people's ideas, the way they talk about parenting, I prepared myself for fatherhood by going through the worst case scenario. So I always thought that it was going to be a lot worse than I thought it was going to be. And actually, it turns out that, being a father of my daughter is like the easiest job in the world. I don't want to like brag or boast, but how's it with you?
It's been. Sometimes it feels really natural and easy, and then sometimes I feel like crazy, I guess. I mean, sometimes it's hard. I mean, I think also because my daughter just turned 2, and
oh my God, what a way to go!
Yeah.
You're gonna love. I think 5 through 7 is gonna be like an incredible thing for you once she reaches that age.
Yeah, I just feel like I wish I knew how to do, like now that I'm pregnant again, I feel like, well, if I was having one baby, I'd feel like, okay, it's cool, I got it in the can. But now that I'm having twins, I have a lot of fear coming up because I have no idea how I'm going to manage newborn twins and a 2-year-old. But
the hardest part for you're going to have the younger kids. They're going to be a lot easier to manage until they reach a certain age. Like, I'm going to say 5, like I would. But you also have the older daughter. But there's going to be a nice in-between period of time where she can act as a free babysitter for you, if you want to do that.
Maybe. Yeah, I actually really...
What's your daughter's name?
Her name is Lex.
Lex, after the TV show that used to be on Sci-Fi back in the 90s?
Lex after Alexandra, after my dad, who is
after
Alexander.
Lex Luthor?
No.
Sorry.
So, just short for Alexandra. I love the age she's at right now. It seems to be people talk about their favorite
they're
ages.
Lovely. They're incredibly lovely creatures. I mean, it's like my daughter gave me a hug just like an hour ago, and I was like, wow, this creature comes up to me and hugs me. It's really nice. I like it. She does beautiful. Scream and whine a lot.
Right.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap this up. right now. Feel free to plug away. Talk about the website, the web series.
The web series is mothersyou'dliketofriend.com or mylf.tv. Either one will take you to our website where you can watch episodes.
And I recommended that.
You did.
I get $1 every time every time anybody goes on the site, I get $1, and I get to keep it in a shoebox under the sink.
Nice. College funds.
So, this has been BlissVille, Misadventures in BlissVille. I'm Masha Sapron, and I want to thank my guest, David Lawler, the very sexy David Lawler. Oh, wait. I think I wrote this wrong. Something seems wrong. All right. Wait, who are you? Who was I talking to? Masha. There you go. Hey, I remember you. All right. Good night, and may God bless.